The first notes drifted in, soft, crackly, as if carried on a winter breeze from long ago. Snow settled on the rooftops, candles glowed in windows, and somewhere in the distance, yes, people were singing. It all felt timeless, didn't it? As though Christmas carols had simply always been there, waiting patiently for us each December. But the truth was stranger and far funnier, because carols weren't always these comforting tunes we hummed while wrestling with hopelessly tangled fairy lights. Their beginnings were rather unexpected. Welcome to our series exploring how Christmas traditions changed over the centuries, how they emerged, disappeared, and sometimes came back wearing completely different clothing. Today we begin where Christmas so often begins, with a song. If you had travelled back to medieval Europe and asked to hear a carol, you wouldn't have been guided to a church at all. More likely, you'd have been pulled, willingly or unwillingly, into a lively circle dance. The word carol came from the Old French carole, meaning a ring dance accompanied by singing. These early carols were cheerful, rhythmic, and predominantly secular. They celebrated feasting, the seasons, and occasionally the joys of flirtation. All very wholesome medieval fun. Religious? Not especially. Christmassy? Not yet. But in the illuminated margins of manuscripts, all shimmering gold leaf and mischievous doodles, we find the earliest hints of something shifting. A few songs began to take on themes of winter, hope, or even the nativity. Monks toyed with the refrains, troubadours slipped in spiritual imagery between love stories. It was the faintest beginning of what carols were destined to become. By the 1400s and 1500s, the church noticed something important. These songs were catchy, and when you wanted to teach Bible stories to a largely illiterate population, catchy was extremely useful. So the carol was welcomed into the church, hesitantly at first, perhaps still remembering all that dancing, but gradually and then enthusiastically. Songs such as the haunting Coventry Carol and early versions of the First Noel spread through villages and towns. They weren't yet the polished arrangements we know today, but they carried clear narratives and simple choruses anyone could join. Then came the printing press, and suddenly cheap little carol chapbooks sprang up everywhere. Woodcut illustrations and early notation, collections of verses for any occasion. Carols were no longer tied to one location or tradition. They could be shared and copied, treasured across regions. And then suddenly everything changed. In the mid-1600s, the Puritans took charge in England and decided that Christmas, with all its singing, dancing, food, candles, gatherings, joy, and general evidence of human happiness, was thoroughly inappropriate. They banned it entirely. Shops were ordered to stay open on Christmas Day. Anyone caught celebrating risked a fine. Carol singing? No chance. Yet people carried on anyway, quietly, secretly. In cottages, farmhouses and back lanes, families whispered through familiar tunes. Carol singing became a small act of defiance, a way of saying, yeah, we will have Christmas, thank you very much. And so the tradition survived, muffled but unbroken. Jump forward to the Victorians, and they rediscovered half-forgotten medieval carols and did what Victorians did best. They revived them with immense enthusiasm and a great deal of creative editing. They found old lyrics, rewrote melodies, and composed entirely new songs that they insisted had a wonderfully ancient quality. Many of the carols we now assume to be medieval were, in fact, Victorian inventions or reinventions. Oh, Little Town of Bethlehem, 1868, Once in Royal David's City, 1848, and even the rousingly medieval-sounding Good King Wenceslas, 1853. They're all products of this era. Meanwhile, hymnals multiplied and choral societies flourished. Families gathered around upright pianos, even if no one in the family could actually play in time, and affordable printing meant that everyone could own their own carol book, complete with beautifully illustrated title pages and occasionally inaccurate musical notation. Then came Mr. Dickens with A Christmas Carol. He cemented the idea of a festive season filled with generosity, community and song. It was as if Christmas itself received a Victoria refurbishment. All polished brass, frosted windows and an earnest moral about kindness. Carol singing fit perfectly within this renewal, and it took off like never before. Some households reportedly sang with such enthusiasm that neighbours lodged complaints, not about the noise, but about the pitch, a tradition that absolutely continues to today. As the 20th century dawned, technology entered the scene like an excited stagehand who'd been waiting for centuries. The gramophone allowed families to hear professional recordings of carols at home, a major improvement if Uncle Bernard insisted on leading every song in a key known only to himself. Radio expanded this even further. From 1928, the world-famous Festival of 9 Lessons and Carols from King's College, Cambridge, began to be broadcast, and millions tuned in to hear those pure echoing voices usher in Christmas Eve. Then came commercial records, and with them the golden era of the Christmas single. Carols became global. Songs such as White Christmas travelled farther and faster than any medieval minstrel could ever have dreamed. And today, in the streaming age, we curate our own festive soundtracks, sometimes suspiciously early. Communal singing still exists, but the soundtrack of Christmas has shifted into headphones, with algorithmic recommendations and smart speakers that somehow always choose Last Christmas exactly when you're trying to concentrate. But of course, Christmas music belongs to the whole world. In Austria, Stille Nacht, or Silent Night, emerged from a small village and became one of the most recognised carols in history. In the Philippines, families celebrate with joyful percussive Simbangabi songs. In Korea, Christmas developed its own distinctly bright modern pop identity, full of sparkle, synths and festive cheer. Wherever Christmas travelled, the carol travelled with it, adapting its rhythms, languages and harmonies to each new culture. It became at once local and universal, a shared tradition shaped by countless communities. So yes, carols do feel timeless, but in truth they were always evolving. From medieval circle dances to church hymns, from forbidden songs to Victorian reinventions, from crackly gramophones to global playlists. And that's the heart of their magic. They change with us. They carry our stories, our seasons, our celebrations. And every generation adds its own voice. In our next episode, we'll explore how Christmas traditions transformed from the Victorian age to the present day, revealing just how recent many of our old-fashioned customs truly are. For now, wherever you are, may your December be warm, musical, and perhaps filled with a carol or two.
Stille Nacht, heilige Nacht. Ein Hauch von Hoffnung bleibt. Stille Nacht, heilige Nacht. Hirten erst kundgemacht. Durch der Engel, Halleluja, tönt es laut von fern und